The inferno destroys half of a city block. Nothing could stand in its path. We'll have the devastating story.
This is TV2 Eyewitness News with Tom McCall.
Kevin Orford's computerized weather forecast. Mike King with sports. And the area's only live on-the-spot coverage. This is Action 10 News Night Watch.
Flames roared through downtown Cayuga tonight. A hellish sight faced firefighters trying to battle that blaze. We will have that story for you in just a moment.
But first, in the city of
area became filled with emergency crews from both Indiana and Illinois as they tried to catch up with a fire that got a head start.
We had a fire down here above what used to be the old theater in that building there. We made several attempts. We had a fire in the back room to contain it, and they kept driving us back. And if you can see the construction of the buildings up there, they're boarded up above the windows. You couldn't really see. And I'm assuming, the estimated, right now we're looking out, it's probably about a 45-minute start off for anybody really noticed the fire. And it was up in the ceilings, and we had a hard time getting to it.
By nightfall, the extent of the damage had become clear. The laundromat, the old theater, and a couple of apartments above bore the brunt of the blaze, as did part of the nearby Clark Chevrolet dealership. As he watched a good portion of his business go up in smoke, Albert Clark estimated damage to his business office and parts area at upwards of $750,000. Crews from at least 10 area fire departments are currently battling the blaze, and it appears that they will be working throughout the night.
Water's been our biggest problem, supply and demand. We're finally getting some tankers in from the Santa Clark Oil Company and some tankers from the surrounding areas and from Illinois, and we're feeding, I believe it's Danville, Illinois, Snorkel, and they've basically got it under control back there right now. We've just got some hot spots we're trying to knock out now, but I imagine we'll be here tomorrow morning yet.
Two buildings to the south of my apartment.
Chris Block used to live above the laundromat. Today, a backdraft blew out the front wall of his apartment.
There's really not much I can do at this point besides stand and watch, and that's all I can do.
Most of the residents in Cayuga gathered to watch as a part of their small town disintegrated. Flames rolled across rooftops and smoke billowed high into the sky. Andy Milliken is the new owner of a flower shop just 2 doors down from the buildings that burned. He saw a similar sight just a little more than a month ago when his shop in Kingman was destroyed by fire.
Just too much within 45 days for, you know, it's too close, way too close. I think our building's probably all right. I think we're going to, like, have smoke damage and perhaps water, but I hope that we're able to keep something left out of this building.
As the hours slipped by, so did what little control the firefighters were gaining over the blaze. Cayuga's water supply began to run low, and as reinforcement was brought in, the fire continued to roar.
Some of the firemen I know, when we made our first initial attack to the one apartment where the fire was at, it drove them out 3 times, and 3 times we went back, and we finally thought we got that knocked down, and then the wall blowed out and just spread.
With backup from 9 surrounding communities, the blaze was finally under control nearly 4 hours after it started. Luckily, no one was seriously hurt. But now the town must decide where to go from here.
Well, it now may be days before a total assessment of all the damage can be made. Some are already comparing it to a fire back in the late 70s. That blaze took out half a block just across the street. Susan Meyer, Action 10 News, Cayuga.
Well, today's downtown fire in Cayuga could have been deja vu for some residents there. Same situation, fire, evacuation, downtown buildings. Action 10 News was there back in 1978. Fire destroyed 2 downtown buildings. The Bloody Bucket Tavern and Riggin and Cash motorcycle shop collapsed to the ground. The 1978 blaze was on the northeast corner of Main Street, on the opposite corner of the square from tonight's fire.
Earlier tonight, we mentioned layoffs at Chestnut
area in the Vermilion County, Indiana town of Cayuga. Firefighters are still on the scene of that blaze that began about 2 p.m. today. Channel 3's Ryan Baker was in Cayuga tonight, and he's just back with an update. Ryan.
Jerry, it's very devastating to see these people lose a big chunk of their town right before their eyes, and nothing they can do about it. Tonight, people in Cayuga are calling this fire the worst in the town's history. It came by surprise, but it wasn't long before the flames were taking over part of the town. People began to smell smoke on the north end of Division Street early this afternoon, but the smoke soon turned to flames that quickly burned their way down the block. Firefighters say this blaze was going for at least an hour before they arrived on the scene. Because the buildings are so close together, they've had a hard time figuring out exactly where the fire began.
The whole top half of the
the hardest hit by the inferno was a car dealership on the corner. No cars were lost in the fire, but co-owner Dale Warnick could only watch helplessly as flames gutted his showroom, garage, and offices.
20 years down the tube and this franchise, all of our employees, you know, there's lots going through my mind. It's not a very good day. So, what can you say when your business is going up in flames?
Dozens of rescue workers from nearby departments assisted in battling the fire and smoke, which at times looked to be unbearable. Despite the fierce conditions, there were no casualties or serious injuries. It appeared that nearly everyone in Cayuga gathered to watch a major part of their small, quiet town go up in smoke. It's too early to put a dollar amount on the losses, but many here say that number won't be big enough. Jerry, firefighters in Cayuga say the fire could still be burning in some parts of the building tomorrow.
Any idea what caused it?
Well, at the time, they were too busy trying to put that big fella out, but right. I'm sure the investigation will start sometime tomorrow or the day after they try to clean up the mess, so we'll be following that story.
Okay, thanks, Ryan.